Hello, friend. Steve from South Dakota. Lean in a little closer. We got some things to talk about. I just sometimes, well, like I told my friend the other day, if other people don't make me laugh, and actually other people do make me laugh. A lot of people do make me laugh, actually. Got this sun thing going on here, but I just said if other people don't make me laugh, I can certainly make myself laugh. But so sometimes I like to introduce subjects of great gravity with a little bit of lightheartedness. The theme today, okay, there's always themes, right? There's always things to talk about. Is and this entire pandemic shtick, okay, the plandemic, scamdemic, whatever you want to call it. What I've noted, there are things that stand out. And the thing that really stands out to me is it seemed to take this C19 virus to suddenly engender in people this notion that, gee, we were living forever until this thing came along. In other words, the vast majority of the people that are supposedly dying of this, and obviously even the CDC said 94 or 5, whatever percent it is, it was a comorbidity thing. They had underlying serious conditions, and they happened to test positive for COVID, so they died because of COVID. Okay, so and I shouldn't leave that aside, because that right there to me tells the whole story of this thing being an agenda-driven scamdemic, beyond the shadow of a doubt. Okay, like Richie from Boston said, any grown adult could look, any grown adult can look around him and see that there is no pandemic. He's 6 months into it, right? But in other words, the vast majority of people that are supposedly dying of this pandemic are 70 plus years, and many of them obviously 80 and beyond. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read is this a proverb or a psalm? Psalm. So here it is out of Psalm 90. Very short. Hang in there with me, please. Okay. The days of our years are 80 years and 10. That's 70, okay? And if by reason of strength they be 80 years, that's 80. Yet is their strength labor and sorrow. So even if you live to be 80, there's a lot of sorrow there, okay? And a lot of labor, okay? For it is soon cut off and we fly away. In other words, we die. But generally, our appointed lot, and this was written obviously thousands of years ago, but things haven't changed. Other than I think there are a few more people living longer lives, but if you probably averaged it all out, it would probably come to just 70 to 80 years, right? Across the board. At any rate, so that is the life of the human being. We're born and then we die. If we're, blessed or strength of whatever extra strength the Bible talks about, we'll live to be 80, perhaps beyond. Obviously, we know people live to be 100 and beyond. But again, what I'm trying to say is that so it's not laughable that people die. Okay, what's laughable is that suddenly now we've become aware that, suddenly we have this notion that, gee, until C19 came along, we were all just living forever. I mean, we never died unless it was a car accident or a heart attack or, whatever. And so what's laughable is that, in other words, life goes on. People are dying between 70 and 80 very frequently because that's how God designed it to be, okay? And I'm not going to get into the gospel here other than to say that the only victory over death is Jesus Christ. He's the only one in the history of the world that overcame death by his death and resurrection. And that is why it's the greatest story ever told, okay? So I have a dry cough here, pardon me. I'm 60 years old, so I tell friends that if the world continues on, without the rapture, tribulation, etc., which I don't think it will very much longer, but if it does, and the Lord allows me, I've got maybe 10 years left, maybe 20. However you cut it, it's short, okay? I can tell you the last 20 years of my life, this last 2 decades, have gone almost like what Paul refers to in rapture terms, like the twinkling of an eye. So the theme, again, is that it is a remarkable thing that they've been able to engender in people this fear of this thing being like a death virus, okay? Every year, people at that age die of multiple things, okay? If they're usually by 70 or 80, you do have underlying conditions of one kind or another, okay? So if you get a really bad flu, I had a terrible flu 13 years ago. It's before we even knew of, H1N1 and SARS and all these other ones, MERS, blah, 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 that were, by the way, far worse than C19. Tony Fauci talks about that in the New England Journal of Medicine. So, what was my thread here? So in other words, but I was younger then, for about a week, I thought I was going to die. I mean, it was horrible. I wanted to die, to be quite frank with you. So anyway, so we just have this new attitude that we were all doing fine in our 70s and 80s, and then all of a sudden C19 came along, and it's the giant killer. I mean, it's just, laying people out and so on and so forth. And of course, in other words, the point is that nothing has changed, okay? What's changed, though, in other words, people live and die at those ages, okay? That's just the way it's been. It's the way it's always going to be until the Lord returns, okay? But again, suddenly now we're just all freaked out about, this woman died they were 77 years old, and they had 2, 3, 4 underlying conditions, and happened to get maybe got COVID-19, maybe not, maybe just a flu or some other virus. And that's the other thing I wanted to say, is that there are a lot of other viruses out there and bacteria, that can do a lot of damage and obviously tip people over at that age that have, especially with underlying conditions, and maybe in some cases no underlying conditions. But it's the age that God says we fly away. We're gone. We're Denzel Washington on this earth, okay? And so really probably what I'm appealing to, and this is why Richie from Boston, I like his quote where he says, any grown adult. What I'm telling you people, whoever you are, or if you share this with somebody, my basic thing is, if this thing is freaking you out and you think that all these draconian measures of lockdowns and masks and shutting businesses down, if you think this is acceptable for something that's just basically another strain of a flu virus, and in many cases much more mild, as I said, than SARS and MERS and blah, 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 okay? The swine flu, et cetera, then what I would tell you, if you think these measures are necessary for something that is just a normal part of life, just another virus, as this Who song goes, just another tricky day. This is no social crisis, just another tricky day. They're all tricky days, okay? They're all tricky days. But my comment to you then would be, you need to grow up. You need to realize what it means to live and die in this world. And probably the most pithy thing that I've come up with through this whole thing, and there's been a lot of great comments by a lot of people about this, but the one that at least, I don't know if whatever, is I said that this is a generation of people, and it seems to cut across all age groups. We're afraid to live, we're afraid to die. So we go home, we hide behind our masks and our toilet paper, and we don't go out in public. We don't do events because we're told that if we do, we may drop dead in 2 or 3 days, or have a tube stuck down us, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and in no wise, if you've lost loved ones or friends to what you think is the virus, and it very well may be, I'm not saying this virus doesn't exist and that it can't do damage. All viruses can do damage. That's the point here. We have a lot of viruses every year that assault people all over the world. So, welcome to life, because life is about death. We're all going to die, okay? And we're not going to live very long. 70, 80 years, friends. I'm 60. 60 years have gone by in the blink of an eye, okay? Life is short, and like a bird, we fly away. So, join me again. Nothing I said is objectionable or refutable if you're a grown adult. So, those of you who need to grow up, do it quick and read Romans 10, 9, 10. Have a good day. Steve from South Dakota. Bye.